it is still depression. Right? Then we have another one called persistent affective depression. Persistent. It is persistent because it can linger with you for a period of over 2 years. Then we have another one that is called sad. Seasonal affective disorder. Mumewahi kukaa na watu wakati wa mvua anakuwa na huzuni nyingi sana. Wakati wa mvua peke yake. Ama wakati wa jua kali. Ama wakati wa giza totoro. Ama in the morning. In the morning, are you talking about somebody? Wakili, you could be talking about somebody. So it is called sad seasonal. All right? So normally when somebody talks about depression, it is important to know that depression is not just general, is directed. So it is easy to tell. So the fourth one is called depression with psychosis. With psychosis. So this one, you will interact with a person and this person will hallucinate. Hallucinate is a big word, but the meaning is small. Big word, lakini meaning yake ni kidogo, and this is what it means. Hearing voices. Hearing voices. Umesikia? Nimeitwa. Hukusikia hiyo sauti? Mtu anasimama anataka kutoka nje. Anasema, where are you going? Si umesikia nimeitwa na fulani. It is also punctuated by what we call delusions. And in delusions, this is what we mean. A false belief that is held very strongly. And I have a friend, and I'll not mention his name. Hapa mnaweza mjua. Vile ninawaona hivi mnaweza mjua. So I will not. Who left employment after serving for 20 years, and this person was transferred, and the person said he believes some of the employees are bewitching him. Na nikamuuliza wanakurogarogaje, ulijuajuaje? And this person says, particularly, there is one guy, he's a Mluya. When he comes to the office, he greets everybody. So Mimi's greetings, once he has greeted me, I begin feeling some stomach upset, I choke. Then you ask, what further evidence do you have that the greeting is connected to the choking and the stomach upset? And she says, me, I don't know, but I feel it in my spirit. And this person makes a decision of writing a resignation letter. This is depression with what? Nimesema inaitwa nini hiyo ingine? Nyinyi mnaniacha haraka sana. Depression with psychosis. Depression with psychosis. So now what makes us more prone to depression? One, it is genetics. And in genetics, I mean, if you come from a family where there is history of depression, you are more likely to be attacked by what? Depression. That is one. Number 2, it is life events. Life events. Some things may happen to you, especially things that are traumatic. And things that we call traumatic are subjective, meaning there are people who will be traumatized by something and other people will not be traumatized. They are subjective. So some events may happen. It can be a death. It can be an accident. It can be a breakup. Can be a breakup. Kuna watu wakiachwa hawaachiki. Vijana halo. Kuna watu wakiachwa wafanye nini? Hawaachiki. Wanasema niambie sababu ya kuniacha. Sababu ya kuniacha ni nini? Tell me the reason why you are leaving me. The reason. Unafanyia nini reason? Huyu mtu amekuacha. So to other people, they can move on very fast. To other people, this can be a cause of what? Depression. In other areas, we have what we call tendencies to ruminate. And tendencies to ruminate is about you thinking about the negative things that have happened to you, and you spend a lot of time ruminating. Some it can be history, your life history, where you come from. Every time you think about chimbuko lako, you become depressed. You become depressed. So generally, what do you look for? In addition to what our friends said. When we talk about depression, remember I've picked depression, but I said that house called mood disorders, there are other presentations, okay? But today we are dealing with only what? Depression. Okay. So number 1, just as the name denotes, depression simply means low. So somebody feels sad most of the time, most of the day, for a long time. Feeling sad, feeling depressed. Another thing you look at, it is the energy. This is somebody who used to wake up at 5, do a devotion at 5, come to his place of work at exactly 7:30. All of a sudden, this person is low in energy. He doesn't wake up at 5. He goes to his workplace at 10. That vigor and gusto that he had is no longer there. So that tells you there is something happening. Another thing is feelings of worthlessness and helplessness. You look at yourself and you feel you're trapped. And as you feel trapped, you feel sasa hapa mahali ambapo nimefika siku zuri. So then we look at what we call vegetative symptoms. And in the vegetative symptoms, you look at their appetite. The appetite can swing both ways. They can either begin to eat very little or not eat at all, or they will begin eating sana. So kukula sana wakati mwingine si afya. Hello? Yes. When somebody all of a sudden begins to eat so much, vuta aerial. Watu wa Garrison, mnajua kuvuta aerial? Vuta aerial. That is one vegetative. Another vegetative is sleep patterns. This person does not sleep. We call it insomnia. Unamuuliza umelala masaa mangapi? Mimi ninalala masaa 4 ama 2. Nikiingia saa 4, saa 6 nimeamuka. ninaangalia, ikianza kufika saa 11 za asubuhi, tena lepe la usingizi linakuja. That is one side. Somebody is looking at me, telling me, mimi ndio nalalanga hivyo. Kuna mtu? But I'm not talking about you. So it can also swing both ways. You can either lose sleep or sleep too much. So you are supposed to wake up at 8. By saa 6, wewe hujafanya nini? Hujaamka. Another thing is you lose interest in the things you loved to do before. You loved to read a novel, all of a sudden you do not want to read a novel. You loved to go visit some people, all of a sudden you do not want to visit people. You loved to watch Man U. Hapa kuna watu wa Man U ama ni Arsenal? Yeah? Man U ama Arsenal? Unajua mimi husema vitu mbaya. Niseme kitu mbaya? You will give account of the hours you waste watching that mpira. Lakini mnisamehe au sio? So now, another thing is difficulty concentrating. Unaanza kuongea na mtu, they cannot be focused. They cannot listen to you. They want to do other things. Unaona tu focus yake imepotea. These are things you need to look out for. Then you also see what we call suicidal ideation. Suicidal ideation. And at times suicidal ideation is subtle. It does not come direct. It means this person will throw a hint. They will tell you, mi naona nimechoka na maisha. You know that is a subtle statement? You know it is a subtle statement. It's not telling you kwamba I want to commit suicide, lakini nimechoka na nini? Na maisha. But what does that mean? And if they have a friend who died long time ago, they will tell you, I think, mimi naona kama mama alipumzika. Mahali mama ako mahali poa. Yeye apitii hizi shida ambazo sisi tunafanya nini? That is suicidal ideation. And they will throw hints. They may not be direct. The hints may be there, but they will be telling you this person is contemplating something. Is contemplating something. Then one thing, you will see this person withdraw. He was part of your social support system. He was part of your friends. All of a sudden, this person cuts links. Na fulani alienda wapi? Alikuwa very active kwa wall. Siku hizi ya post. Tukiita mikutano, hafanyi nini? Haji. So this person withdraws. So these are things you will look at and say, hey, something is not well here. Something is not well here. So then I want to break down something that will assist you. In most cases, depression is caused, maintained, or exacerbated. Nimesema vitu vitatu. Nimesema nini? Ya kwanza? Caused. Ya pili? Na ya tatu? Toa exacerbated. Sema caused, maintained, and increased. Nimesema? By your thought process and thinking. Listen. Between the stimulus and the response, there is normally a gap that can make the difference. I will come back to that. Ninataka watu watatu. I want to demonstrate something. 3 people. 3 people. Nyinyi mmevaa uniform, kujeni. Kwanza huyu. Ati ulimba wimbo wa Kijaluo. Nice. Nataka wa pili na watatu. Come here, hapa mbele. Hapa juu kwenye jukwaa. The third, nilisema wale wa uniform, mama njoo. Nashukuru sana kwa kuja. Japo niliona ulikuwa kwenye vita, uje usije, lakini nashukuru umekuja. Asante. Kwa hiyo njoo simama hapa. Mimi nimesema wasimame pande hii, wewe unawaita bana. Mimi nasema simama. Asante. So now there is one denominator that you will always watch for when we talk about depression. One denominator. And these 3, I will baptize them today. All right? Just for a moment. Wewe unaitwa self. Unasema unaitwa? Huyu anaitwa nani? Self. Usitafute self wengine, ile self ya kawaida. Nimesema anaitwa nani? Self. Huyu anaitwa circumstance. Anaitwa nani? We, jina lako nani? Lile la kwako. Isabella self. Isabella self. Huyu Eileen circumstance. Mumeshika jina la huyu? Alafu huyu bwana mkubwa ulisema jina ni lipi? Otieno. No wonder ulimba ule wimbo. Huyu anaitwa Otieno future. Otieno nani? Future. In almost all cases of depression, there is a denominator that will connect these 3. They will connect self, circumstance, and future. All right? So look at this denominator. When I am here with self, it depends on how you view yourself. And how do you view yourself? I view myself as worthless. Umesikia? I view myself as worthless. I view myself as a failure. I view myself as not enough. Not enough. When I come here to the circumstance for a young person, maybe I have done a mathematics exam and I got 1 out of 10. 1 out of 10. Kuna watu wanapewangwa hiyo max. 1 out of 10. Out of 10. Ukitaka kujua uliza Doris. In university when we do cuts unaweza pea mtu 0.5 out of 10. So circumstance yake ni gani? Now I want you to see. What is the circumstance? The outcome of an exam. The outcome of an exam. And this outcome is 1 out of 10. Remember, hapa kwa self, amesema I am worthless. Nimepata hesabu 1 out of 10. I am worthless. I am a failure. I can amount to nothing. So you do what we call generalization. Because of this one exam that has given you 1 out of 10, you draw a conclusion that I will never pass mathematics. So this circumstance, when I look at the future, is hopeless. Hapa tumesema worthless. Hapa tumekuja hopeless. Huyu anaitwa future. Huyu anaitwa future. Because of this, huyu sasa anaangalia kesho, generalizing. Anasema kwamba baba yangu alikuwa ananiambia nikuwe engineer. 1/10 na kuwa engineer. Hiyo vitu inaendana. Hiyo haiendani. Sasa conclusion yako ni nini? Uololo yaye mimi engineer haiwezekani. So now there is one common denominator, and the common denominator here is the word negative. Unasikia? It is the word negative. When you look at yourself, what do you see? Negative. What do you see? Circumstance? Future? This prepares the ground for depression. Sasa mkae. Now I want to give you what we call the sequence of depression. The sequence of depression. Because it doesn't just happen. But let this picture remain in your mind. So this is how it goes. This is how it goes. The first bit is an event takes place. An event takes place. Wacha niulize, pengine kijana mmoja atanisaidia. Ni kijana gani aliachwa juzi? Hapa kwenu amwacha nangi? Ama amwachwi? Hawezi sema. Kwa hiyo watu hawaachwangi hapa. Sasa tuseme ni nani amefanya interview za kutafuta kazi sana na hajapata? Let us use that one. Interviews. Nani amefanya interview hajapata kazi? Interview? Yeah, young people. Interview. Were you saying something? You are not. Just come. Just come. Thank you. You know, at times it's not very good to stay in that valley, right? You must step out to be counted. All right, just come here. Stand to my left. All right, she's called Susan. I want us to take an example of Susan. And we are about the sequence of depression. Now, Susan has been applying for a job, and it is now 1 year. And every time she applies, the prospective employers do a regret. Others don't even do that. So Susan is looking at the self. Because she has made applications for a long time, and every time the response is negative, she can draw a conclusion about that. And what conclusion can she draw? Let me hear from the congregation. What conclusion can you draw? Yes. Please come here. I remembered you are supposed to use this one.
She draws a conclusion that she's not good enough and she'll never be employed.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. So the conclusion here, she's not good enough. Had she been good enough, probably she would have been invited for an interview. So an event, then she draws a conclusion about the event. And the event here is she's been making applications, but no response. So what conclusion? I am not good enough. Another conclusion, I will never get a job. All right? That is the first step. Then she moves to the second level, where she is not good enough. She has made a conclusion. She does what we call ruminating. Ruminating. Ruminating simply means spending a lot of time thinking about the negative conclusion that you have arrived at. So when she sits in her house, what does she think? I'm not good enough. Mimi sitapata nini? Kazi. Sasa maisha yangu mimi itakuwa hivyo. And at times she draws her worth from this, and she makes conclusions and says that because I'm not good enough, mimi sitapata kazi, sasa inamaanisha mimi maisha yangu kwisha. Then she moves to the third thing, which is called avoidance. And the avoidance is anytime she gets an opportunity to do another application. Do you think Sue ataandika application? Do you think ataandika? Niandike nini? After all, I am good enough. Mimi sitawahi pata kazi. Hakuna haja. Hiyo inaitwa avoidance. Then she moves to the last bit that is called withdrawal. Kuna watu wali-apply naye, walisaikiana tuandike, wengine wameitwa interview. Sasa ye because of the conclusions, sasa hawezi tembea na wale ambao waliitwa nini? Interview. So she withdraws. So sequence number 1, drawing a conclusion. Number 2, ruminating. Number 3, avoiding. Number 4, withdrawing. But I said, mostly, depression is maintained, caused, and increased by what? By what? Thoughts and thinking process. So whenever you feel that depression is on the way, there are times the right thing to do is to get medication. We have antidepressants. You can get medication. At some point, you will need to see a therapist, and that therapist will walk with you out of this depression. I want somebody to read Psalms 119, verse 28 and 29. Thank you, Susan. Next time you apply, you will be called for interview. All right. Psalms 119, verse 28. Yule msomaji aje hapa kwa kipaza. (119) verse 28, 29.
Psalms 119, verses 28 and 29. It says, "My soul melts from heaviness. Strengthen me according to your word. Remove from me the way of lying, and grant me your law graciously."
Thank you. Down the sun, there are times you will be weighed by sorrowness, sadness, because of events that take place in your life. As Christians, we have a way out. Talk to God. And Christ powerfully talks about a calling to share in your troubles. Matthew 11:28. Are you worried and heavy laden? Christ says, come to who? Come to me. Come to me. And I will help you carry this load. This is one secret that Christians have. That they can share their burdens with Christ, and Christ will carry their burdens. The only challenge we have is at times we are not ready to hand over our burdens to Him. We own those problems. Na unasema hii ni shida yangu. Ni mimi tu ninajua kushughulikia shida hii. So it is important for you to cry out to God. When you feel that your depression has now brought distress, and in distress I mean you cannot function. You've gotten to clinical levels. You cannot function the way you used to function. Even as you pray, seek for professional help, because you can be assisted. Mungu awabariki sana. I just wanted to talk about that. I was asked to talk about depression, and I wanted to simplify it as much as I could. Kuna mtu ana swali? Yes, my brother. Come and ask your question from here.
Happy Sabbath.
Happy day.
Happy day.
Happy Sabbath.
Yes, thank you for presentation. I'm a slow learner. I must ask a question. You build your conversation or your presentation on mood, and that is the very point where you left me. I'm still wondering whether mood is castigated physically or internally. And again, you delved so much into the mood, and you said it can, when you are discussing about or expounding on mood, you mentioned something about depression can be hereditary. So I'm much worried if depression is hereditary. How can we solve this? Because is mood castigated by internal circumstances, or are they physical? And if it is hereditary, it means that the whole society may be affected by the depression. And in case that the whole society is affected, what is the solution? Are we supposed to maybe to give all of them antidepressants? That's my questions, because I must excuse myself that you have taken us through a lot of psychology, geopolitical. So try to make it prosaic in a very simple way so that everyone can understand.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I love the questions you have asked. Let me begin by saying this. When you are born, you come with a package of emotions. All right? This is where we begin. You are born with emotions. That is why you will see your child cry when they are cold, when they feel upset, when they are hungry. They are expressing an emotion. They are saying they are sad. So, at some point, my brother, we can talk about what we call emotional regulation and emotional deregulation or dysregulation. Because we do not have the time to talk about emotional regulation, I just want you to know that there are people, because of their genetic, wanajulikana kwamba once they get sad for a long time. All right? For a long time. There is a saying in Kenya kwamba kuna watu wanaitwa Wamero. Nani Mumero hapa? Wako. Alafu wanasema wana ndugu zao wanaitwa Wakisi. Kuna Wakisi humu ndani? Yeah? Wanasema ukienda kwa Wamero unaweza ambia mtu nikatie huyo mtu na panga na huyo mtu anakata. Na Kisii akikasirika, hata kama ameajiriwa kuchuna majani chai, anakukumbusha, utajua mimi ni nani? Ni Mkisii. Utajua. So generally, there are people that are more predisposed. All right? It is not automatic that if your dad had it, you will also do what? Had it. But you are at a higher risk. All right? You are at a higher risk. It's like cancer. You go to a doctor or high blood pressure, and they do what we call your family tree. They ask, did your father suffer from this? And you say, yes, my dad had high blood pressure. So the fact that in your lineage you had people who had it makes you more predisposed. So how do I answer this question? Then do you need to give every person antidepressants? Do we have to give every person antidepressants? And let me ask, how many in this church are under antidepressants? Let me see by a show of hands. So your answer is here. Have you seen your answer? Nobody is using antidepressants. So do you have to give people antidepressants? No. Correct. Love. Correct. When their symptoms have reached clinical levels. When they have reached clinical levels. So, one thing you need to know is that depression is real. You can suffer from it today. Hello? You can suffer from it today. We are all susceptible, but there are those who are at a higher risk. Okay. Yes. Yes, Wakili.
Thank you, Daktari. I have a question. How do we call during Gethsemane?
During?
Gethsemane. Yes, the experience of Jesus. There was a process where blood was oozing out of his body.
Correct.
I've read in certain books that Christ was depressed. All right? How do we explain that kind, and what type of depression is that? Secondly, sometimes we account suicidal, that state of suicide, to demonic possession. Can demonic possession cause depression? How do we relate the spiritual aspects of a person vis-a-vis depression?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. And these are great questions. At times I am at loss to properly describe an incident that touches on Jesus Christ, because he was Jesus Christ, all right? Though I have read literature that we have nuns, right, who get so depressed to a point that they also bleed, right? So just allow me not to talk about Christ, because the realm of Christ was different. Let me come to suicide being linked to demonic oppression. This also actually borders on spirituality. I'm not so qualified to talk about demons and demonic oppression, but I am qualified to tell you that suicidal ideation are linked to depression. The possibility of the dark world oppressing people to a point that they think about suicide is something I have read about. Okay, it is something I have read about, and some people have testified that they were pushed to jump aboard and go into the ocean because they were following some voice that was pushing them to do that. However, what researchers taught us is that suicide is commonly linked to people dealing with depression and bipolar, and it is not just bipolar, it is bipolar 2, because there are different types of bipolar, but it is bipolar 2 that is mostly linked to suicide. So, demonic oppression, I cannot say no. I have read about it. It is possible. Lakini wewe, hebu nikuulize, wewe mtu wa Mungu. Christ is saying una mizigo, leta hiyo mizigo wapi? Kwangu. Ni kwa nini ukae nayo mpaka ufanyiwe demonic what? Oppression. This is the question I have. But yes, there is the dark side of this world. Any other question? Yes, my sister. Come, please come. Please come. This is meant for you. Shikilia mpaka ufike.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I received a message from a young lady, an Adventist, and she was telling me, pray for me, there is this evil thought that comes to me, not once, not twice, more than thrice. Pray for me because I have attempted suicide, and by the knife in particular. I hold even 2 knives. And when I'm about to stab myself, another spirit comes to me and tells me, just look for somebody to talk to a friend, talk to someone. And akaenda, the last one alienda kwa Aniko, ndiye alikuwa karibu, akaita Aniko, wakaongea kidogo, alafu sasa hiyo kitu ikaisha. Sijui akamuombea ama akamuongeresha. Then I was like, now, after you have presented, ndio nimesikia kuna bipolar na kuna, okay, I've heard of bipolar, but me, I'm not in health, so mi sijui hizo vitu vizuri. Sasa, kuna hiyo demonic forces, mimi niko mambo ya spirituality, sasa hiyo ninaweza elewa kidogo. Ya demonic forces, ikutorment mtu na deliverance. So now, huyu mtu anapewa advice gani daktari?
Thank you. That's a good question. It's a good question. And I once asked a couple, hapa watu wameoana, and I asked a couple once, umekosewa sana, what have you thought about? Have you thought about suicide? Akasema hapana. Have you thought about walking out of the marriage? Hapana. This was a pastor's wife. Pastor's wife. Niliona mke wa mchungaji hapa. Are you in? Ama alitoka? I think I saw pastor's wife. Ako, yeah. So, akanieleza, I have not thought of those, but I have thought of homicide. Mnajua homicide? Amefikiria kuua. Alikuwa anataka kuua nani? Alikuwa anataka kuua pastor. My sister, do this. Seek for professional help. Even as you pray for your friend, seek for professional help. In suicidal ideation, we have 3 stages. And stage number 1 is called talking about it. And your friend has talked about it. Amesema, mimi nasikia kujiua. That is the first stage. The second stage is called planning stage. In planning stage, somebody surveys. Kama anataka kujinyonga kwa mti, atatembea, afike kwa ule mti, aangalie branches, aseme ile branch nitafunga kamba ni gani? Ni hii. Ngoja tu siku itafika, anarudi kwa nyumba. Tena atakwenda survey, inaitwa planning stage. Atanunua kamba, akae nayo, akimbie kwa ule mti, afungue, aseme siku bado, arudi. Unasikia? The third stage is execution. And the execution stage means ataondoka na afanye tendo gani? Tendo hilo. When your friend talks about those things, it is a cry for help. Sikia hicho ni kilio. Na kilio chake anasema, I am in a hole. Come get me out of this hole. Most people who do suicidal ideation end up committing suicide. My daughter can give you an example. She lost a very close friend. Is it 2 weeks ago? 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago. And it spun around this thing. Hopelessness, worthlessness. I don't see the future. I do not have friends. But for those of you who are married, this was exacerbated by separation, the eventual marriage. The father married somebody else. Her prayer was that her mother reunites with the father. It did not happen. So she looked at the future and she lost her identity. Mimi ni nani? Mimi ni wanani? How do I describe my family? Then this world means nothing. But the ideation was there. It is worthless. Anapeana vitu vyake vya muhimu, kisha anapanga. Mwisho alitoka hospitali Chiromo, and she hanged herself kwao. My sister, it is a call for what? For help. Help her. As you pray, there is help. Seek out professionals. Somebody wants to say something? Oh, yes.
Pastor, asante kwa nimekuita pastor, lakini yaonekana wewe ni mwadhiri wa chuo. Swali langu ni hili. Umetuelekeza kuhusu dalili hizi zote za msongo wa mawazo, ukatupa baadhi ya suluhisho. Ila kile kilichopo ni kwamba asilimia kubwa ya waliopo hapa katika kanisa hili, kwa namna moja au nyingine, kila mtu ana wazo fulani ambalo linamkabili. Ukweli uliopo ni huo. na mara nyingine waweza kuja hata kanisani ukakose mtu wa kusema naye. Kwa hivyo swali langu ni hili, ikiwa asilimia hii kubwa wanakuja kanisani, ikiwa watu hawa waliopo hapa kila mmoja ana wazo linalomsumbua, na katika kanisa letu la Kiadventista nimeona ofisi ya makuhani, nimeona ofisi ya wainjilisti, nimeona ofisi ya mashemazi na makundi mengine mengi. Swali langu ni kwako weza kutoa maelekezo gani kwa kanisa la Kiadventista, kwa sababu idara hii ni idara ambayo haipo. Idara ya kisaikolojia na miongozo ya masuala kama haya haipo, kwa sababu huwezi ukaenda kwa makuhani. Inataka mtu ambaye ana taaluma speciali ya kushughulikia masuala haya. Je, maelekezo yako kwa kanisa ni lipi?
Thank you. Thank you. Let me say this. The fact that you have come to church is one big step. I want you to know that. The fact that you have come to church, it is one big step. Because the church becomes your social support system. Once you have people you can talk to, and we can subscribe to the ad that says a problem shared is a problem half solved. Because it gets you out of avoidance and withdrawal. So number one, the church is a great thing. When the Bible says mubebeane mizigo, haimaanishi kwamba ni mzigo literally. Hata kuna watu wamesongwa, wakikuzungumzia unaweza kuwashauri. The reason why we have family life ministries in church, it is that the older couples can model the younger couples. All right? They will talk to them that my husband is cheating or my wife is cheating, and they will move to the older couple, and the older couple will tell them, this is serious, but do not give up. It can be remedied. In church, we have something we call forgiveness. So, number one, the church in the state it is takes care of the mental health of its members. Having said that, I am sure in this church we have teachers. We have teachers. We have teachers. I'm coming there. We have teachers. See, we have teachers. Watu ambao wamefundishwa shuleni kama waalimu, they have a unit that teaches them about basic psychology. The church can harness on this. So they have a resource. And again, in this, umesikia chaplains, they deal with people in distress. If I were to be here, he would tell you, because I've looked at the curriculum, your theology, they have also what we call past. So the church has avenues of assisting members. However,